On March 15th, a group of finance YouTubers, including Graham Stephan, Meet Kevin, Andre Jick, and Erica Kohlberg, were hit with a $1 billion lawsuit for promoting FTX to their viewers as part of a channel sponsorship. In this video, we'll look at highlights from the class action complaint that was just filed against them, which accuses them of recklessly promoting the crypto exchange to millions of their viewers in exchange for undisclosed cash payouts from FTX. A quick disclaimer, this video is not legal advice. So with that out of the way, let's take a look at the class action complaint that was filed on March 15th against those YouTube influencers. Here we have the class action complaint filed on March 15th, 2023, and it names Kevin Paffrath, aka Meet Kevin, Graham Stephan, Andre Jick, Erica Kohlberg, and others in this lawsuit. This lawsuit was filed against the defendants, influencers, who promoted, assisted in, and/or actively participated in FTX trading. It states that the FTX disaster is the largest financial fraud in U.S. history. The former FTX CEO, Sam Bankman-Fried, is facing numerous criminal allegations, and the new CEO, who helped wind down Enron, concluded that this fraud was worse than Enron. It says billions of dollars have been stolen from investors across the globe. FTX was a centralized cryptocurrency platform. It filed for bankruptcy protection in November 2022. It states that there is no guarantee that any of the victims will be able to see any recover from those proceedings. Plaintiffs bring this action against YouTube and social media financial influencers and promoters who shared financial advice and actively promoted FTX and its yield-bearing accounts to their millions of followers. Though FTX paid defendants handsomely to push its brand and encourage their followers to invest, defendants did not disclose the nature and scope of their sponsorships and/or endorsement deals, payments and compensation, nor conduct adequate, if any, due diligence. And then it goes on to say down here, FTX could not have arisen to such great heights without the massive impact of these influencers who hyped the deceptive FTX platform for undisclosed payments ranging from tens of thousands of dollars to multi-million-dollar bribes. Many of these paid FTX influencers have since asked for forgiveness because many of these influencers rely mainly on their alleged independence and impartiality in attracting people to join their fan base. Then it goes on to say this action is brought to hold liable those influencers who specifically violated the law under these acts and will serve as precedent to warn and guide influencers in the future. And then it says the defendants, number one, all admittedly endorsed and promoted the sale of FTX yield-bearing accounts. And number two, none of them disclosed in any of their YouTube and other social media posts that they were paid hundreds of thousands and/or millions of dollars by FTX and profited from the sale of FTX YBA's yield-bearing accounts in clear violation of SEC, FTC, and various federal and state regulations. Now, this raises an interesting question that I want to stop and pause on for a second. I used to make stimulus check videos on this channel. Well, at the time, Meet Kevin was making the same videos, and I was on his channel almost every day watching his content. I'm almost certain I remember reading in the description section of Meet Kevin's videos that he did have a disclaimer saying that any products or services mentioned in this video are sponsored and they are paying me money in exchange for me promoting them on this channel. And so basically it was a buyer beware. So I'm not really sure that this is an accurate statement. I'm not really sure that these influencers, at least some of them, especially Meet Kevin, were profiting and receiving money from FTX without disclosing that fact to their viewers. Now, we can have a debate over how much detail needs to be disclosed to viewers. Should Meet Kevin and the other influencers, should they disclose the amount of money that they're getting paid in the description box to a YouTube video? Or is it simply enough to tell viewers, hey, look, I'm getting paid for every person who signs up for this account. So just keep that in mind when you are buying it. And here we have the staggering sum of $1 billion in this class action lawsuit that the plaintiffs are seeking in damages. And so take that figure with a grain of salt. As I've said in other videos, a plaintiff is alleging a dollar figure more to get media attention. Ultimately, it's going to be decided by either a settlement where the parties agree out of court on what amount of money will be paid, or the jury will ultimately get to decide how much money, if any money, that the defendants are liable to the plaintiffs for. So, moving on to the factual allegations section of this complaint, in paragraph 40, it states that plaintiffs' claims arise from their purchase of an investment in FTX's yield bearing accounts, which FTX marketed through defendants as a type of savings account that every customer who signed up for the FTX app received by default, and which was guaranteed to generate returns on their significant holdings in the accounts, regardless of whether those assets were held as legal tender, that would be like US dollars, or cryptocurrency, and regardless of whether any trades were made with the assets held in the yield bearing accounts. That is the narrative that defendants pushed in promoting the offer and sale of the YBAs, which are unregistered securities. Then you've got the new CEO of the failed FTX entities. He explains that never in my career have I seen such a complete failure of corporate controls and such a complete absence of trustworthy financial information as occurred here. So this is even worse than Enron, is what he's basically saying. From compromised systems integrity, whatever that means, and faulty regulatory oversight abroad, to the concentration of control in the hands of a very small group of inexperienced, unsophisticated, and potentially compromised individuals, this situation is unprecedented. Then it says FTX was already very familiar with Miami, signing a deal worth more than $135 million for the naming rights of the waterfront arena where the Miami Heat played. Then in paragraph 51, it states that the main functional differences between banks and cryptocurrency exchanges is that exchanges are largely unregulated and that exchanges are subject to a lot of additional risks compared to that of a bank account. Then it talks about the rise and fall of FTX and Alameda Research. Paragraph 58 states that FTX launched in May 2019 and rapidly became a leading cryptocurrency exchange. FTX was led by SBF, Sam Bankman-Fried, as its founder and chief executive officer. Prior to founding FTX, SBF launched his quantitative crypto trading firm Alameda Research in November 2017. SBF got rich off FTX and Alameda, with the two companies netting $350 million and $1 billion in profit, respectively, in 2020 alone. In paragraph 63, it states that the FTX.com exchange was extremely successful since its launch. In 2022, around $15 billion in assets were traded daily on the platform, which represented approximately 10% of global volume for crypto trading. By the time FTX filed for bankruptcy protection, customers had entrusted billions of dollars to it, with estimates ranging from, and I kid you not, $10 to $50 billion. Then it says in paragraph 65, Bankman-Fried was worth $26 billion. At just 30 years old, he had become a major political donor, gotten celebrities and social media influencers like Tom Brady and the defendants in this case to vociferously promote FTX and secured the naming rights to the arena where the NBA's Miami Heat play. Then it goes on to say that FTX saw an estimated $6 billion of withdrawals over the course of 72 hours. So there was basically a virtual run on the crypto bank, which it struggled to fulfill. The value of FTT tokens plunged 32%, but rallied once again with Bankman-Fried's surprise announcement on Tuesday, November 8, 2022, that Binance would buy FTX, effectively bailing it out. But the next day, Binance announced that it was withdrawing from the deal, citing findings during due diligence, as well as reports of mishandled customer funds and the possibility of a federal investigation. The news sent FTT plunging even further. Bankman-Fried saw 94% of his net worth wiped out in a single day. On November 11, 2022, unable to obtain a bailout, FTX filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, and Bankman-Fried resigned as CEO. Then it says in paragraph 76, following his resignation, Bankman-Fried issued a 22-tweet-long explanation where he believed he and the FTX entities went wrong. SBF sent a tweet out that says, "I'm sorry, that's the biggest thing. I messed up and should have done better." So he's effectively accepting fault for the collapse and loss of all of his customers' money. In his 13th tweet, he says, "Because at the end of the day, I was CEO, which means that I was responsible for making sure that things went well. I ultimately should have been on top of everything. I clearly failed in that. I'm sorry." And then finally, he caps it off in tweet number 22 with, "And finally, I sincerely apologize." In paragraph 77, it states that another explanation contributing to the precarious house of cards that was the FTX platform is that earlier this year, Bankman-Fried secretly transferred at least $4 billion in customer funds from FTX to Alameda without telling anyone. After Alameda was hit with a series of losses and the FTX entities lent more than half of its $16 billion in customer funds to Alameda, in total, with more than $10 billion in loans outstanding. Then in this next section, the defendants aggressively marketed the FTX platform. So finally, in the complaint, we hear about the allegations against the influencers, specifically in this lawsuit. Paragraph 138, it states that from its inception, crypto has been fueled by illicit activity, and the crypto sector continues to be rife with crime, frauds, and scams. According to Pew Research, 16% of Americans have invested in crypto. Then in paragraph 141, it states crypto firms like FTX turn to celebrity and social media endorsers to position itself as the safe option among cryptocurrency exchanges. The FTX advertising campaign is particularly pernicious because it implicitly acknowledges cryptocurrency's problem while holding FTX out as the safe place to invest in cryptocurrency, which were proven untrue as FTX turned out to be a house of cards that misappropriated customer assets. FTX's paid endorser program was clearly designed to use the positive reputation associated with specific YouTube influencers and other social media network influencers to convince consumers that FTX was a safe place to buy and sell cryptocurrency. FTX's brand ambassadors had a critical role in portraying FTX as being a safe and compliant company. FTX not only deployed such well-known celebrities as Steph Curry, Kevin O'Leary as brand ambassadors, but it also engaged in aggressive global digital marketing, particularly through influencer crypto marketing on YouTube and other social media. Then here in paragraph 146, it states that unlike mainstream celebrities, influencers don't shroud their lives in an air of mystery and present themselves as real-life consumers who share authentic and valuable information with their followers. They create content that resonates with their followers, often by sharing their personal experiences, lifestyle choices, and preferences. By doing so, they establish a sense of authenticity and relatability with their audience, which can be incredibly compelling. I would certainly agree with that. That is definitely what distinguishes successful social media influencers from Hollywood actors, where we really don't know a lot about them or their daily lives. Then in paragraph 147 here, it states that what differentiates influencer marketing from other types of celebrity marketing, it is perceived as more authentic and trustworthy because owing to an influencer's rapport with their fans, their recommendations aren't dismissed as fake and sponsored endorsements. See, for example, Shaq's FTX Super Bowl Carnival, which looked very artificial, very fake, very sponsored, very corporate. Like, nobody is going to suspect that Shaq has a clue what cryptocurrency is. Maybe he does, but I'm just saying it didn't look authentic. It looked like he was just promoting FTX. Then in paragraph 148, it states that while influencer digital marketing is more expensive than other types of paid media, studies done on the subject show that the majority of marketing teams have found the return on investment, ROI, on influencer marketing to be higher than that of other forms of online growth tactics. According to a recent study, influencer marketing delivers an ROI of $6.5 for every $1 spent. I thought that was highly interesting. So sponsors, feel free to send me your offers on this channel. And then, of course, in paragraph 149, it states that more than 1/4 of Gen Zers learn about finance from social media. For their part, the defendants, Meet Kevin, Graham Stephan, and Tom Nash, who prior to FTX's collapse promoted FTX as a safe investment to their legions of followers, have now scrubbed their YouTube channels of all video clips endorsing FTX and praising Sam Bankman-Fried. In their place, the YouTube influencers have substituted mea culpas, my bads, and apology videos acknowledging their significant role in promoting FTX and causing billions of dollars of investor losses. Then in paragraph 153, it states that defendant Meet Kevin, who upon information and belief received $2,500 every time he mentioned FTX in one of his videos, posted a video to his Meet Kevin YouTube channel with over 1.86 million subscribers on November 22nd, 2022, in which he states, "Yes, I used to be a sponsor by FTX. I think that is a disgrace and it's a scar and it sucks. If I could go back, I would change it because people got hurt because of that. I feel so terribly about that. People got hurt because of FTX and it's a disgrace." Similarly, defendant Graham Stephan had built a loyal fan base of YouTube by sharing financial advice. After aggressively promoting FTX, he posted a video titled "My Response to FTX" to his YouTube channel with over 4.22 million subscribers on November 28, 2022, in which he states, FTX UX has been a recurring sponsor here on the channel since spring of this year. I can't even begin to share how devastated and sorry I am. I made the mistake of working with a platform who operates within an industry that does not already have proper consumer protections in place. On the most basic level, I made the mistake of assuming that Sam Bankman-Fried's image had anything to do with his credibility. I fell into his trap of effective altruism. In paragraph 157, it states that after FTX's implosion, the Financial Times reported that FTX held talks with Taylor Swift to sponsor the singer's tour for more than $100 million. While the article does not detail the reasons why Swift declined the FTX offer, it does include the following quote from a person close to the negotiations. Taylor would not and did not agree to an endorsement deal. The discussion was around a potential tour sponsorship that did not happen. Then it goes on to say, based on information and belief that has been released by FTX's new CEO, John Ray, as part of the company's bankruptcy filings, anyone who bothered to spend 20 minutes reviewing FTX's operations pre-collapse would have identified significant red flags. Then in paragraph 160, it states that it is hard to imagine that anyone who has done business with FTX, it's referring to the influencers here, including paid endorsers, would not have personally witnessed one or more of the deficiencies identified by Mr. Ray. I'm not sure that's a fair allegation to make here because they very well may not have recognized any of these deficiencies. It is a paid promotion. And basically this comes down to who should accept responsibility. Is this a situation where if you are an adult and you're reasonably savvy, you have enough money to invest in cryptocurrency that you assume your own risk in doing so? Or should we hold people who promote these things accountable because they are trusted sources of information? That is a question that I believe this case will ultimately resolve. It says all FTX endorsers have extensive business dealings beyond FTX and surely would be able to identify business practices that are unusually problematic. Thus, influencers have a moral and legal obligation to know that what they are promoting is unlikely to cause physical or financial damage to customers. Then in paragraph 162, it states that in addition to the conduct of Sam Bankman-Fried, as described in this complaint, some of the biggest names in sports and entertainment have either invested in FTX and or been paid to serve as brand ambassadors for the company. Several of them hyped FTX to their social media fans, driving retail consumer adoption of the FTX platform. And of course, we know from a sister lawsuit that the same plaintiff has filed against the major celebrities who supported FTX. This includes Tom Brady, Gisele Bündchen, Shaq, you've got Steph Curry, you've got Kevin O'Leary, you've got David Ortiz, Shohei Ohtani, and a host of other celebrities and athletes who were promoting this and who were paid celebrities to promote it. In April 2021, FTX became the first company in the crypto industry to name an arena. Of course, that is referring to the Miami Heat arena that was named after FTX after they paid about $135 million for the naming rights for 3 years. The FTX entities needed influencers like defendants to continue funneling investors into the FTX Ponzi scheme and to promote and substantially assist in the sale of the yield-bearing accounts, which are unregistered securities. And so moving on to their actual claims here, you've got count number 1 under Florida law. This is the Florida Securities and Investor Protection Act. It states that this section of the Florida statute provides that it is unlawful and a violation for a person to sell or offer to sell a security within the state of Florida unless the security is exempt under that statute, is sold in a transaction exempt, and then blah, 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 blah. And then moving on, it states that under this section, it extends liability to any director, officer, partner, or agent being the relevant portion of this statute right here, of or for the seller being FTX, if the agent has personally participated or aided in making the sale. And then it goes on to say the yield-bearing account is a security pursuant to this statute, Florida statute. So I wrote right here, issue number 1 is an FTX yield-bearing account a security? And I'm not sure what the Florida law is on that, but that would be something that the lawyers would attack if the law is not clear that a yield-bearing account with cryptocurrency is in fact a security as that is defined under Florida law. Then here in paragraph 188, it raises issue number 2. the defendants are agents of the FTX entity. So that is definitely going to be a major issue and dispute in this lawsuit. Were the defendants, these influencers on YouTube, were they in fact agents of FTX? And so that will most likely turn on an interpretation of the word agent under state law and whether the law actually covers this situation here. Then in count number 2, under the Florida Deceptive and Unfair Trade Practices Act, it states that the defendants' unfair and deceptive practices were likely to mislead. So they're saying that by promoting and sponsoring FTX to their viewers, that they were misleading them. And so I said the issue here that is probably going to be in dispute in this case is, did the defendants promote FTX in a way that was likely to mislead its audience? And that will come down to what degree of disclosure that they made in the description box and in their videos when they were encouraging their viewers to actually go open accounts. Did they disclose that they were being paid? And if so, what level of detail did they disclose to their viewers about what their compensation was for promoting FTX to the viewers? And did they mention anything about the risks of opening up an account with FTX? Or were they saying that it is totally risk-free? Those will be important facts that will need to be fleshed out in this case. Then here in count number 3, it's a claim for civil conspiracy. It accuses the defendants, the influencers, of misleading customers, their viewers, with the false impression that any cryptocurrency assets held on the FTX platform were safe and were not being invested in unregistered securities. And then it goes on here in count 4 to seek a declaratory judgment. That's basically just a judgment by a court stating that there was a violation of the law here and you owe this amount of money. In paragraph 211 right here, it says the defendants were paid exorbitant sums of money to peddle FTX to the nation. It's basically saying that but for the fact that the defendants were peddling the FTX product to their viewers for what it describes as exorbitant sums of money, then the plaintiffs in this class would not have invested their money in the FTX platform. They would not have put their money and then ultimately lost it had the influencers not suggested it to them. And so here, this raises the issue of, but for the defendants' promotion of FTX, their audience members would not have given their money to FTX. That issue will be hotly contested in this lawsuit because it ultimately raises the question of who should, at the end of the day, be responsible for the investments that they make. Should it be somebody who recommends a product, and even though they're disclosing that they are sponsored by the product, or should it be the person who actually decides to put their money into it, like a buyer beware situation? Who do we want to hold responsible when a investment goes bad, when it becomes more risky than we thought it was? Should the person promoting the product for a fee bear the responsibility of the person making a bad investment, or should the person who actually made the bad investment be responsible for losing their money? Make sure to hit that subscribe button below and turn the bell notification icon on so you don't miss any of my updates on this developing case. And of course, as always, thank you for watching.